Robloxia 2026, a brutal hellscape where developers scrounge together to see who can grab the most cash out of the player's pocket as possible. Of course, some games have just a tiny bit of passion in them. This much is necessary. But can you say the same for many of them? Probably not.
No f***ing thank you. This game sucks. Send it to hell.
Or the current state of Roblox games in 2026 sure is interesting, to say the least. I don't know, I'll get the quick stuff out of the way first, because I feel like these are probably the most boring parts of the video, but I tried out some new games for once. There's that one Eternal Garden game, or whatever it's called. I don't really care for it. It's pretty much just grow a garden. A game that released last year, by the way. I just wanted to say that. A game that released last year with a new coat of paint on it. Did it change anything about the formula? Probably not. I imagine it's the exact same as Grow a Garden. So it's not, I don't feel like it's anything to write home about, but I guess it could be cozy if you're into the more like casual games. I've seen this type of thing happen time and time again on Roblox, and I feel like I shouldn't be a stranger to this by now, but you know, everyone, like, even then, like, Roblox devs were still stealing ideas from each other, just straight up just copying games from each other. How else do you think the big simulator craze happened back then? How do you think the big battlegrounds craze is happening right now, actually? Speaking of battlegrounds, I think that's something not a lot of people really talk about regarding battlegrounds games, is that once you've played one of them, like even one, you've genuinely just played them all, okay? All of these battlegrounds games have pretty much the same combat system, where it's just you try to M1 trade, keyword try, and then you abuse mobile lock-on, and none of them, okay. See, I want to say the thing is that none of them really bring anything new to the table, but that's the thing with Battlegrounds games. People are playing Battlegrounds games because they like the set-in-stone combat format that these types of games have going. It's just that every single time one of these new ones pop up, it's always a different franchise or something like that. And I think it can be an enjoyable time killer, especially with friends. The whole thing about them is that it's just spectacle. It's straight spectacle. There's no substance to the gameplay. I don't think I'll ever forgive a single anime developer for infesting this platform with this crazy particle effect spam. Like, bro, we don't need all of these impact frames. We don't need all of these particle effects, bright and flashy, by the way. We don't need wind and dust effects on literally everything. But that's more of just a pet peeve of mine. I'd say the real only issue with that is that it's visual pollution, just completely covering what I should be paying attention to the most and just obscuring my vision straight up, so that I can't even see what I'm supposed to be focusing on the most. And while I'm still on Battlegrounds game, I guess it's probably fine to bring up two games of an adjacent genre, I feel. Bizarre Lineage, I think it is without words, okay? I think Bizarre Lineage insists upon itself. You really don't need me to make any sort of comments on Bizarre Lineage. You've seen the Eclipse videos by now. That game. And Cursed Gear, I think I'm not gonna knock it completely, mainly because it is an Archmage and Ragusa game. Those two are known for making, I would say, decent to good games. They're pretty high in quality. Okay, I'll give them that. They are really high in quality. Deep Woken was a hit for sure. A much bigger hit than Rogue Lineage was. But I genuinely don't think you can completely ignore the influence that these games have on anime games and even anime adjacent games, I would say. But if you do want to learn more about Cursed Gear, I'm not going to be able to talk about it here. I don't have access to it. I would recommend Raycontour's video. While we're still on the topic of game trends on Roblox, I want to take a little quick dive into asymmetrical games. I think it's a cool genre. I see the appeal in it. I've played quite a few of them myself. I don't have much footage of Terror Realm, but Terror Realm was a decent playtest all in all. I think what this game could really benefit from is a tutorial, or just most asym games just in general. I feel like a lot of them could definitely benefit from having like a quick little tutorial in the game. It would definitely help a lot of players get adjusted to the overall pacing of the game, I feel. But overall, Terror Realm is not bad though. It's not bad. I will say, asym games are not my thing, not at all. But Terror Realm was a neat experience for once. I like how different the killers are, and by that I mean how differently each one is designed, so all of them actually stand out from each other. I played like until I got killer, pretty much. I think the one thing that being a killer lacks right now is impact. I noticed that whenever I like M1'd someone, it didn't really feel like I was doing anything. I wasn't getting any like feedback. I don't know how else to describe it, but it's a very minor thing, but I feel like it would make playing the killer feel a lot better. Just as a little detail. Now this is something I noticed here. Whenever you're playing against Guest 666 and they hook you in, right? There's this bar that Bloom, or whatever the healer character's name has, that indicates when you can use your big healing skill. And the issue with that bar is that the Guest 666 hook meter is also placed right where the bar is, and they overlap. The healing bar obscures the hook bar, and I couldn't really see what I was supposed to do properly for the first time, so I kind of just ate it. I don't know, if I were the developers, I would probably just place the hook bar, or the hook meter, whatever, like near the middle of the screen, I would say, rather than it being at the bottom. Other than that, I don't really have any other feedback to give regarding Terror Realm. I didn't really play much of it. I think I played like about an hour or so before the game closed for development. But it's a decent game. I think if you're into asymmetrical games on Roblox, that's definitely something to look forward to. I grew up playing Roblox, so Critical Strike I was actually really fond of, and I have been following this series for quite a while. I appreciate what Gefilte Cool has done for the game and the community, and I am very grateful for Geef, who is Gefilte Cool's co-developer for PSA, for picking up the project and basically continuing it. I had a fun time during the open test, and I think PSA is really promising, I won't lie. I think something this cartoony and arcadey should really be welcomed more within the community of Roblox, and I'm kind of sad to see that it isn't. It is a PvP game though, so I will say something like this may not be everyone's cup of tea exactly, but it does have a ton of cool classes, and it's overall just a fun and enjoyable experience, even especially with friends. I will say though, a lot of these classes do feel, the game's pacing does feel way too fast right now. A lot of these classes deal like a bunch of damage, and at some points it doesn't really feel like a skill based. It more or less feels like some of these matchups are class based, which I'm not too fond of. I feel like the damage should be toned down significantly, because some of these classes have like crazy fucking DPS output. There's one class I want to bring attention to specifically, Swordmancer. It's in a very interesting spot. The M1 is based off of a timing mini game, right? If you just let it rip, it'll do like a quick blender. And while I quite enjoy Swordmancer's gameplay and its whole like gimmick kind of, The issue with the M1s is that there's no use in using like the spiral swords version of the M1, because if you just like get close enough, you usually are always going to be able to get close enough to do the just the spam M1 version. But the moment you do, it does the same amount of damage as a spiral swords version, except it does it faster and it's more on demand than the spiral swords version. It's weird though, because I want to say it's not the first useless M1 variant on Swordmancer either. In fact, Swordmancer has 2 useless sword variants. The first one being obviously the spiral swords version. The second one being the one where you raise swords up out of the ground to knock away your opponent. I think it puts up significantly less damage and even utility for Swordmancer as opposed to the other M1 options, because like if you wait out the full duration and let Swordmancer's M1 become the projectile version, it's not bad. It's I want to say a decent projectile move that does 15 damage on hit. Maybe the sword variant where they stab the ground in front of you could be good for zoning, but I really don't see why you would prefer to zone as Swordmancer rather than just rush and go berserk and shred them to bits. Because I've survived more fights as Swordmancer just doing that rather than playing zoning Swordmancer. Not to mention, there's like quite a few classes with heavy lockdown too, especially Lancer. The Skewer, I believe it was the Skewer or the Q, whatever it was called. If you get knocked into the void with it, right, your fate is pretty much sealed. I want to say by the time you make it back onto the stage or the fighting area, Skewer is off cooldown again, and the Lancer will be able to just like pretty much track you and skewer you again and then throw you into the void just like that. Lancer's alternate Q can stagger, and even a short stun like that can be incredibly devastating to your opponent's health bar. It's crazy, dude. I've got my HP deleted just like that. Another thing I want to bring up is the new void system. I don't like it at all. I'm gonna be completely honest, I preferred the old void system. The thing about the new void system is that when you get hit, right, you're put in stun pretty much until you hit the ground again. You also have you have to steer yourself basically. You can't freely move around as if you were in the air. No, you have to steer yourself. And you also cannot act until you hit the ground again. There's a tip that the game doesn't include where if you press space when you get highlighted, which is near the end of your fall, you can tech the fall and you avoid wake up stun. However, if you tech the fall, it also provides you like 0 reward other than, hey, you don't get to face wake up stun. So you don't get like any bit of evasion during it at all. It's just you don't gain much of anything really. You barely get a chance to reposition. You barely get a chance to readjust. So really, the whole thing is you gotta avoid just getting thrown into the void. And if you don't, then you end up getting void comboed and it hurts like hell. And the reason why I prefer another reason why I prefer the old void system is that like while you are falling after being bounced by the void, you get a better chance to reposition, and hell, you can even maybe use an ability to put yourself at something of an advantage. Maybe to even avoid getting hit again by the person you're fighting, or hell, maybe even catch them off guard. Because with the new void system, when I say that you have to steer where you're going, it's you can literally like watch your opponent. Your opponent can literally watch you and track you as you're flying through the air. So even if you were to like tech the roll, it only rolls you forward, by the way. Unless you like turn away from them, which will put you at a disadvantage because now you can see less clearly what your enemy is doing. You will basically just roll straight into your opponent's loving arms and grant them a free hit. Illusions 2 is the most fun I've ever had on Roblox, and I'm really not afraid to say it. Illusions 2 is one of the greatest fighting game experiences by far on Roblox possible. This game is easily so much more complex and enjoyable than any Battlegrounds game ever on Roblox. It's not even a debate. If I'm gonna be completely honest though, like the only real issues I have with the Illusions 2 is just really the balancing. I think Akuma still really does way too damage. Even when mashing, you can pull off like some crazy high damage combos easily. And not to mention ABA, at the time of recording this, which is March 11th, by the way, Noodle promised ABA would receive more tools in base, and in turn, her awakening or mode would get like a nerf, right? To compensate for the more tools in base. However, we still have not received that. So hopefully Noodle pushes that out soon. But other than that, Illusions 2 has been really enjoyable so far. And this is only a playtest state, by the way. The game is this good in a playtest state. It's honestly amazing what you could do if you put any effort into making a good Roblox fighting game. It's like incredible, honestly. And the VFX direction is amazing too. Like, it doesn't feel visually polluting at all. I can very clearly see what I'm fighting. Even Hongmei Ling, one of the more VFX intensive characters, you can still read her animations pretty easily, I feel. So I am very grateful for the fact that they've made good looking VFX that isn't visually pollutive. It's amazing, honestly. The next thing I wouldn't really say is like a real issue. It's more or less a pet peeve of mine, but really I feel like a Leary game in this game is way too slow. I average about like 50 to 100 Leary per game, and like for the higher numbers, it's only if I get lucky though. That's the thing. I don't really see the point in keeping Leary gain so low if you have viable passives and later down the line character mastery, which will alternate the character's movesets slightly, I believe, as well as these color changing titles. Well, the titles less so on. I really just, honestly, I just kind of want the grind for a 10k title to be easier and less time consuming, but that's about it. Anyway, please try out Illusions 2. It's genuinely a gem of a game. It's awesome.
Hey.
Oh, it's the motor is the.
Are you kidding me? Oh nah, bro, dodge the knife. Nah, Zankenishos. Nah. Nah, I'm Nani Yoshiki. Nah, I'm genuinely Nani Yoshiki. Yo, bro, it doesn't work like that.
I can't lie, bro. You're so ugly.
What the
Yeah,
fuck?
bro. You're super
What
ugly.
the fuck?
I'm sorry, man. It had to be said.
What? What is wrong with this dude?
What?